Welcome back to Edgework, presented by FanDuel as part of the Hammer Betting Network. I'm Alex Moretto, joined here today by Rob Pizzola and So Money Sports, a three-man panel to break down a busy night on the ice last night. Look ahead to a pretty good night on the ice tonight. Just the three games, but three good games, I would say. That's that time of year. I mean, every game is big. Every game is huge at this point. Best bets last night, we go 1-1. We did not stand a chance basically on that Tampa money line bet. You figure if they're going to catch Florida, it is going to be early in this series as they're just trying to get their legs back under them. Wasn't a problem. Was not a problem for Florida. They looked healthy, looked rested, looked comfortable, looked like the wagon that we thought they maybe could be. Maybe we were very much sleeping on them. And then we do get the Wild home though, a nice one there. And I don't know if you guys were able to tail the under in the Leafs game, if you guys were able to find sixes at any point or whatever, but if you were, that one gets home. And then obviously the over 5.5 games now that we're sitting on that we gave out yesterday again in the Wild Vegas series, looking a little bit better there as well. So decent night on the ice overall. A lot of stuff to talk about, I guess. Instead of going game by game, I'm just going to throw to each of you guys for maybe your biggest takeaway of the night or any general thoughts that you took with you. Rob, I'll start with you. Your Leafs won in overtime. I don't know if you have any takeaways from that game or if there's something else that kind of caught your eye last night. But walk us through your thoughts on yesterday's games.
Well, first and foremost, I've been very distracted because pre-show, So Money was trying to fix his hair for like 10 minutes. And me and you are wearing hats. And I wish I could have a head of hair like that. Looks great, So Money. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's all good this morning. It's all good. Leafs game. They played like shit and they won. That's always good, I think. You don't have your best game. I thought that they really struggled to create at 5-on-5 last night, which has kind of been the issue for them stemming from multiple playoffs now. Where's that scoring coming from? I don't know that this year is going to be any different once you start to get ramp up the opponent, obviously Florida or Tampa Bay next round. But yeah, I mean, overall, Stolarz played great. That's kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the series. I think the Leafs are only going to go as far as Stolarz takes them in this year's playoffs. He was fantastic last night and definitely doesn't deserve it. But at the end of the day, they got the W, 2-0 at home. As a Leafs fan, that's kind of exactly what I was hoping for. No, going back to Ottawa, going to Ottawa 1-1 and everybody questioning what's going to happen there. The power play's been working for them. That was a big edge for them in this series. And overall, that's, sometimes you don't have your A game and you still pull out the win. And I think that was important for the Leafs last night. But I don't think the series is over by any means. I think Ottawa's been very competitive 5-on-5. And as these series tend to go on, you have less opportunities on the power play. I think that will work in Ottawa's advantage, and they'll really be a tough out as we continue through the rest of that series.
Yeah, the 5-on-5 offense is definitely I would say the concern there, but everything else looks pretty good for the Leafs. It's like, how sustainable is that going to be though when you're up against a team that that actually can score goals as well? Ottawa just doesn't look threatening. Like, the Leafs can't generate a 5-on-5, but they don't really need to. It's not like they need to go out there and try and generate all that much, because Ottawa just does not look threatening at all to me. It's been their issue all year. Scoring's been their issue. You've seen their fans complain or talk about like positive regression coming for their low shooting percentage. The shooting percentage is low because they don't have guys that can shoot the puck very well. I think that's the issue there. And we're seeing that very much here in this first round. It's hard to definitely, like you said. I mean, it's not over the series, but it is hard to see them scoring enough goals to beat the Leafs like 4 out of the next 5 games, which is what they're going to have to do to win this series, right?
Well, you look at the goals that they scored last night, and they're ugly, and that's kind of how it's going to have to happen for them, right? If Stolarz has clean looks, he's going to make the save. He has done that all year. One was just a deflection in front of the net off of Brandon Carlo that happened to go in. The other was a point shot that was a really nice tip that went up over Stolar's shoulder. But most of the time, he's seeing stuff clean, head on, and he's going to make that original save. And I will say, what I really like about this Leafs decor this year, guys like Tanev, guys like Carlo, they clear the front of the net really well. Mm-hmm. So those rebounds, even the ones that are out there, they don't really turn into second chances. So I agree with you there. I mean, it was a really low event game yesterday. I don't know if that was actually, I haven't looked at the expected goals numbers. I don't know if that was reflected in those, but it felt to me like I don't know that either of those teams got to like 2.5 expected goals yesterday. It did not feel like there was, outside of some early chances in the game where Marner hit the post on like a wide open net and a few others, there was not really any 5-alarm chances in that game. So that was extremely low vent, one of the lowest vent games I would hear.
Yeah. So money. Your Leafs, your Wild, good nights for them. Your Lightning, not so much. Your Panthers, your Hurricane sweep bet that you put in the other day, looking like still intact at least. What was your kind of biggest takeaway or general takeaways from last night?
A couple there. So the Leafs really, really stood out. I really like that they were able to pull that game out. It says a lot when you just don't have it and you can still win. And that's a game that the Leafs don't necessarily pull out in previous years. That was encouraging. This is a different Leafs team. I keep saying it. And Rob touched on how they play in front of the net now. And we talked about this in the preview show as well, that it wouldn't be surprising if Ottawa carried the play 5-on-5. It wouldn't be surprising if Ottawa generated more shots on goal. But the thing is that we've seen this throughout the season. What is the quality of shots that you're getting? And that's the way we have to look at this series. They're not getting good quality shots. I can make a lot of those saves that Stolarz is making as well, right? Like it's
pump the brakes there so much.
It's debatable, right? But he is seeing everything, right? And that's the kind of thing that you want to look at. That like, what is the quality of the chances? And when we look at a team like Carolina, for example, that's what's plagued them over the years as well. They'll carry the play, but they don't necessarily generate good quality chances. That series has been interesting as well. I thought that the Devils, they look good, but they just don't have enough. They don't have the horses right now. That sweep is still live. I think it looks good. Florida obviously stood out. That's I might have to rethink a lot of things there. But it's just one game, and Vasilevsky wasn't. He was terrible in that game, so I would expect him to bounce back.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, so obviously, I'm a huge Leafs fan. I caught the beginning of Carolina, New Jersey, the first period. At first intermission, I switched over to that. By the way, when I switched over to the first intermission, it was a third period of New Jersey, Carolina. There was like 10 enormous scoring chances in that third period. I think that series, I know it has been under for the first two games. I think there's goals coming at some point in that series. Like, there was some incredible saves that happened in that third period. Mm-hmm. I always worry about Carolina, and we've touched on this for the same reasons. Like, they dominate play, they generate a lot. Can they put the puck in the back of the net in the playoffs? But to me, that was way more open than I expected that to be that third period. So that was one. And then the second thing is I couldn't watch a lot of Florida-Tampa because of the overlap with a lot of the Leafs game. By the time I turned over, the game was already a blowout. But just reviewing the numbers from this morning, like, Florida generated 6 goals on 2.39 expected goals. And now sometimes that can be misleading, but you have the constant trend that has been coming up for like half a decade now, which is Vasilevsky off a loss in the playoffs. And to me, he had a horrendous game. I don't know what the price is for that game too. And it's not to say that, like there's like lock or anything like that, but it does seem like maybe Florida will be overvalued based off of one bad goaltending performance in that game yesterday. Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on that because I watched a lot of that game. We were up at the bar after hockey. We had both games on, and that one starting at 8:30 meant there was more runway to kind of watch that game. I was really kind of dialed into that to see what like how actually Florida looked. Vasilevsky's numbers were bad, -4 goals saved above expected. That feels really misleading because you look back at some of those goals, like guys wide open in front of the net or second chance opportunities. Nate Schmidt coming in for a rebound, like Bennett whacking the puck out of midair, Reinhart, like just an incredible tip. Like, I don't really blame Vasilevsky for those. It was just like the chances they had were such high danger chances. And like, obviously, like you're not creating a ton of them. The numbers, the expected goals aren't going to be so high, but like those are really, really good chances. It's not like there were many goals where you sat there and be like, well, he needs to save that one. He needs to save that one. The overall numbers look bad, but I think they were a little bit misleading. I think it was more like it was either defensive breakdowns from Tampa or it was just Florida just overwhelming them and creating those defensive breakdowns. Because we saw a couple of those goals where like it was vintage Florida where they're just in so heavy on the forecheck. They're banging everyone. Tampa gives the puck away behind their net. They're trying to rim it around the boards. Puck goes off someone's skate. Florida wins the puck deep, get it quickly to the front of the net. 2 whacks at it. It's in the back of the net. Like it was just vintage Florida. I don't know. They looked to me last night. I was not expecting that level of game from Florida that quickly. And the fact that it happened right away made me very much feel like maybe I missed the boat on just getting in on Florida everything here. Like they were, if this is going to be the Florida team, then they were severely undervalued coming into these playoffs.
I think what it is with Vasi too is that we hold him to a higher standard than regular goalies. So even though there was like as you mentioned, there was a lot of things there that you can't blame him for. No, we can't necessarily blame him, but we do expect him to make that save because the bar is higher for him than it is for an average goalie, right? So I think for me, when I say that he didn't play well, I think that's a lot of where that comes in because his standard is so much higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I would expect a better effort from Tampa. Like that's still a high character team and a well-coached team. So I would expect a much better effort in game 2. Maybe we do get a pretty discounted line. We'll see. We'll talk about that one tomorrow as we get into the game, but we do have games to get to tonight. And before we do, the NHL playoffs have begun and the Battle of Ontario is on. FanDuel is your home for live betting the Battle of Ontario and other playoff series with new features like live SGPs, build a parlay, any game, any period, or stack multiple matchups onto one slip with same game parlay plus. And what's better than playoff hockey? Overtime playoff hockey. Get more from the game with live overtime markets. Right now, new customers can kick off the season with $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Just place any $5 bet and you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download FanDuel today and get more with North America's #1 sportsbook. Please play responsibly. Must be 21 plus in present and select states or 18 plus in present in DC or 19 plus in physically located in Ontario. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-866-531-2600 or visit connexontario.ca. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, let's get into these games tonight. I see a couple of comments from Claudio already in the chat here about the first game we are going to get to, what happened to Demidov Mania, and then kind of answered his own question here. Patrick Laine is hurt in the Habs. I guess Claudio did not watch the show yesterday. I talked about this yesterday, Claudio. Patrick Laine is an anchor on that second line. He is just an anchor at 5-on-5 in general. I think there's a way to fix that, and that is by putting him on a line with Dvorak and Gallagher. Let those two guys grind down low and win pucks and just try and feed him. That's basically the way that has to work. And then get Anderson on that line because Anderson can play with speed. He can play heavy. He can keep up with Demidov and Newhook. That'll be a much better running mate for them, whereas Laine is a guy who's out there just wants to slow the game down. Regardless, those are my thoughts, and St. Louis has not changed anything in regards to the lines. So we are going to see that same second line likely produce absolutely nothing tonight. Hopefully the rest of the team can produce something, though. The Habs plus 150 in Washington tonight, minus 182 for the Caps, a total of 5.5, minus 124 to the over, plus 102 to the under. Alexei Protas back at morning skate this morning in a regular jersey. No confirmation yet, I believe, as to whether or not he will be playing tonight, but potential reinforcements here for Washington. Rob, I'll throw to you first. We talked before this series in our playoff preview about how we like this series to be much higher scoring. That wasn't necessarily the case in game 1. I think there were some early jitters from the Habs, but you could see the offense really get going in the second half of that game. And Washington's offense was going basically from the start. They deserve better. Montembeault was pretty great. You still feel the same way about this series and about this game tonight?
I do. I think there's value on the over in this game. I think we got goalied a bit in the first matchup in game 1. I thought both Logan Thompson and Sam Montembeault were very good. You look at the amount of Corsi attempts in that game is 133 And listen, they went to overtime, but it was ended really quickly in overtime. That's a very high event game. There was a lot of good quality chances produced. I also like that it got a little bit chippy, which I think might lead to some penalties over the course of the series. That started very early in game one with Gallagher getting cross-checked in the face.
No penalty though. Don't forget, no penalty on that play.
Honestly, that I saw that happen in real time, and that was insane. I think it's like the cross-check was so hard, and Gallagher's reaction, like I think if he just went down, you probably
he
could have
didn't
looked
sell
at
it enough. He was just
he was like, oh, he fucking hit me in the face. Like, yeah.
He's so used to getting just pummeled in front of the net that I don't even think he feels pain anymore.
Right. But in regards to like, what we thought the series was going to be, nothing from game one has changed my mind on what I think it's going to be. I think Montreal will be competitive, but ultimately Washington is just a little bit better in terms of the top end finishing talent. They've done that all year long. And I do think it's going to play pretty wide open, as a lot of Montreal games did down the stretch as well. So I think this is a pretty valuable number. My fair price on a 5.5 total to the over would be minus 137 right now. So I think that this is of all the plays tonight, I think over by far in this game is the best.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'll talk more about that in a bit too. But So Money, what are your thoughts on this game?
I agree with the over. I had the over in the first game. I know you had as well, and there was a lot of nerves there. I think we got a little bit unlucky. I wanted to see how Montreal would start this series. I think that we touched on that in the series preview, that I wanted to see kind of how Montreal comes out, whether they're going to be slower as like a team that like had played all these important games, and a younger team going into the playoffs, or they were going to get blown out by Washington or not. I agree with Rob. There's nothing I saw in this series that makes me think that it's not going to go at least 6 games. I did play the Habs tonight. I think that down to plus 150 is still good. They were right there with Washington. There was like nothing that really Montreal I would do differently. Like, better about the second line composition, but from what I saw, there was nothing different I would do. They just got to keep playing, right? They were right there, as poorly and as tentatively as they started that game. It was still a coin flip overtime game, right? And stuff like that is what is important to me. And Montreal was right there, and I don't think we're gonna have the same nerves that we did in game one either.
Oh, hearing you say "we" talking about the Canadiens is wonderful.
I gotta tell you,
just warmed my heart.
When he says like "my Leafs" now too, it just pains me deep down for like a Canucks fan to be jumping on the Leafs bandwagon. It's too much to hear this so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome to be a Habs fan anytime. I don't feel the same way.
It's just about the money, right? Like they were my Oilers for 2 years, and I've like dropped them on a dime this year.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I had a buddy on my team who was cheering. He's a big Leafs fan, and he was cheering for the Panthers last night. It was, do you want to face Florida in round 2? He's like, no, but I want money, and I pounded the Panthers to win the series. So I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, true. That's the way you got to look at it. I agree with you. Montreal started the game about as bad as they could have, and still, obviously, Montembeault was really good early on. They probably deserved to be down 1-0 regardless after that first period. But the way they got down 1-0, with just another like the non-call on Gallagher, and then you have the scrum with where Goulet gets taken as the extra man for nothing really, and then Washington scores on that power play. It's about as bad of a start as they could have had, and they still kind of survived and were fine. Took that game to overtime. I do think they'll start much better. St. Louis seems very composed talking about this, seems very calm. I think that will translate over to the team. We'll see a better effort out from the start here. We've seen them in this spot so many times. Like, it's just, this team is very resilient. They've been up and down, but they have been very resilient all season. So I would expect a good effort. Instead of betting the Habs tonight, I talked about this yesterday, but in case you didn't watch the show, it seems like we have some new viewers here today. I like the over 5.5 games in this series still. I bet that before the series, and I have just added on to it after game one. Again, I talked about it. This was like minus 150 was like best price in market on the over 5.5 games coming in, and now we're at minus 113 after the home team and the heavy favorite won game one should not be this big of an adjustment. So that's the way I kind of, in theory, sort of bet the Habs tonight. Same way as yesterday, where so many had the Wild, and I kind of, like a coward, didn't actually bet the Wild. I instead bet the over 5.5 games in the series. Would have been nice to probably just have the Wild, but I'm taking a similar approach here. So that's kind of how I looked at this one, and I did bet the over. If that first game would have gone over if I think the Habs didn't start the way they did. This number is too low. We have seen it move quite a bit since we started talking about it, though. I do think it will continue to run, so I would get in there now. Do you think it's possible, so money, that we see a better number on the Habs at one point if like Protas is confirmed in? I know obviously Protas isn't like a great player who's going to shift things significantly, but like we did see Montreal take money around this time in game one, and then the market did come back a little bit on Washington throughout the day. Nothing crazy, but like it did start to trickle up, throughout the afternoon, which I guess was not the most surprising thing. Do you think we kind of see something similar here, or do you think if people want to bet the Habs, they should get in now?
No, I think that if you want to bet the Habs, you should get it now. I would expect money to keep coming in on the Habs throughout the morning. I don't think it'll. So where I see this settling right now is about plus 145 to plus 148. So we still have some we still have some room right now, but I wouldn't expect Washington to take a whole lot of money going forward at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. We do have another point of reference now, which we did not have in game one, which I think will change things here with the market, right? Okay, we'll move on to the next game, the Stars and the Avalanche. Gabriel Landeskog, all signs point to him making his return. That building should be absolutely crazy tonight for the return of Landeskog after like 3 years. Avs minus 192 at home to the Stars. Stars plus 158, a total of 6.5. Minus 102 to the over, minus 120 to the under on FanDuel. So money, I'll throw to you first. This time, are you getting on the Avs and Landeskog mania, or like I know we're pretty invested on the Avs already in some serious stuff. This is definitely a bit of an inflated number. The market knows that Landeskog's coming back. The Avs are going home, and you're kind of paying a premium for it.
Yeah, I like the Avs a lot in this series. There's nothing from the first two games that has changed my opinion on the way I think that this series is going to go. But the pricing for tonight's game, I can't get there. Avs, they are inflated. I would love to bet the Avs tonight, but I just can't get there on the price. I think that Landeskog obviously makes a difference. Sometimes we get into the weeds with a lot of narrative stuff, but not we, but like in general when we talk about hockey. But in some cases, it does matter. Landeskog, what he went through and how everything that they've talked about, what he means to that team, it does matter for tonight. And I think that we will see a very inspired Colorado team, but I don't think it's minus 190 inspired, right? That's really tough to get there. And Colorado, Dallas, I thought was unlucky in game one. I thought Colorado played a better game in game two. But I thought that Dallas also stepped up their game in the third period. And I think a lot of that also had to do with sometimes you have veteran teams that it's not necessarily packing it in, but it's more so that they've already held serve, right? So they don't necessarily need to they know it's not as important to win that game. So I do think we see a different Colorado team than the one we did in the second half of game two. And I think that's going to be trouble for Dallas. I do believe that Dallas's overtime win in game two was probably their last win of the season as well.
Yeah, interesting. That's a take. We talked about that a little yesterday too. I don't disagree with you necessarily. Rob, do you have the same thoughts or different thoughts on this game?
I guess I view it a lot differently than you guys do. I think Colorado's way overpriced on everything right now in market. I think a lot of it is based off of the Landeskog return, which could be impactful. The guy also hasn't played for a very long time. I don't want to dismiss him. He's a really great player, but we're kind of speculating and market's pricing him as being like 100% of what he used to be. I thought Dallas in this series so far, I think this is the other series where I've watched the most. I think both games in full. they have generated a lot of good looks. And we kind of expected Colorado to be like a little leaky. They we talked about this in the series preview. This is going to play like a wide open series, right? Dallas, I don't think people realize how much they've struggled defensively. They're giving up a lot of chances, but so is Colorado. And I think when you end up in a game where it's both teams trading chances, I would love to have the underdog in these types of price ranges. I think that just makes it like Colorado way more volatile. Do I want to fade them tonight? I mean, I kind of do, but there's also, the unquantifiable with the return of Landeskog at home and like, what does that mean to the team? Could be nothing and it's just narrative, but I actually do think it means something. I was looking at Colorado first period prices this morning, like Colorado -0.5 in like the plus 130 range or so, which I thought was just maybe an interesting angle to take advantage of that. But overall, I don't see that much separation right now between the two teams through the first couple of games. I thought Dallas, to Somani's point, played a decent game one relative to what the final score indicated. The wheels just fell off for them. Game two took them a while to get going, but once they did, they had all sorts of looks. I'm just pulling up the XG in front of me right now. But yeah, 2 games, and they've generated at least 4.4 expected goals in both games. They are generating. That would scare me a little bit, even though I do think the Avalanche are a wagon, and I still like them to come out of the West. I just I think the way that this is being priced is either giving too much credit to the Avs right now or discrediting the Stars.
Yeah, you're definitely paying a premium if you want to bet the Avs in this game. I do think, still, I talked about this yesterday again, but I might as well just reiterate. I do think the way to bet this, if you want to get on the Avs, is not to bet the Avs tonight, but it's to bet the Avs series price still live. There's like, depending on where you look, FanDuel right now is -182. There is some slightly better available as well. This is not that far off where we started the series, and now the Avs are getting reinforcements back, and they've taken home ice advantage. I mean, that's basically, it's not been a big enough adjustment. You're getting a cheaper price than you're getting on game 3. And if the Avs do win game 3, that number on the -182 is going to shoot through the roof as well. It's worth noting that Heiskanen did make the trip to Denver. It doesn't mean he's going to play tonight, but he is on the trip. And I don't know necessarily exactly how much the market is pricing in the Landeskog stuff, but like, I don't expect Landeskog to be close to the same player he was. I don't think anyone should be. He's going to be like, but if he can contribute even at like 60% of the player he once was, that's still a big boost for this Avs team, right? The deep team that gets even deeper. So yeah, the Stars have generated quite a bit. I want to see if they're going to be able to do that on the road. I think the game 2 numbers offensively they were able to put forward were kind of expected, just because like backs against the wall, you need your best effort at home to keep the series alive. I think this is going to be a little bit of a different task here. I think they'll probably try and tighten things up a little bit too on the road, but we'll see. I agree. Connor mentioned something. I didn't bet this, but I did. This was my initial lean or thoughts here. Was that the under 6.5? It is a big adjustment on the total. And I know that the numbers have kind of reflected that like this has been a higher event series so far, but like, again, things are going to shift a little bit. We've seen the Avs really been able to tighten things up at home against these good teams. So I do lean that way. I didn't bet it. I kind of want to see it a little bit first before I buy into it though. So it doesn't sound like anything from any of us on this game itself, but yeah, some differing opinions potentially on how the Avs are priced long-term there, but nothing on this game from any of us. One more game to get to tonight, a huge game they're all huge games, but I mean a huge one for a few of us financially on this show. The Kings -128 at home to the Oilers. Oilers +106, total of 5.5, -128 to the over, +104 to the under on FanDuel. Rob, Somani and I talked about this at length yesterday, this Oilers-Kings game. You were not on yesterday, so we didn't get to hear your thoughts on it. So I will throw to you first here for your kind of general thoughts on game 1, and then where your head's at for game 2 and these prices here.
Yeah, so I don't think my opinion on this series has changed at all, really. I thought the Kings were very dominant for a very large portion of that game, and then the wheels kind of fell off for them. And the Oilers are always going to be capable of that because they have top-end talent. When they're chasing the game, they're just rolling out, great player after great player. And everything kind of just went wrong for LA down the stretch in that game. But I think you have to just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And the Kings were they were dominating that game. I don't know if the Oilers were, distracted from the harmonica national anthem or whatever the hell happened at the start of that game there, but they had no idea what was happening. So nothing has changed for me in this particular game. I still think, or series, I still think that the Kings are the team to beat, and they had to kind of just this lapse where things went against them for a while. They end up pulling it out in overtime, but there's nothing to me at these current prices that would be appealing to betting the Oilers in the game, especially backstopped by Skinner, who, I think is just a major problem for them. No Ekholm is very obvious for them in this series. Bouchard just looked, out to lunch. Yeah, pretty much. So I get it. It's very scary when you see that. Nick Kostos, a friend of mine, messaged me the other day, and he's like, or yesterday, and he's like, kind of just feel like the Oilers are going to win this series now. I'm like, forget about those last 10 minutes of the game, man. Just pure domination by the Kings beforehand. And I'm, that's where I'm at with this right now. So I think people are making a little bit too much out of that comeback versus the larger sample where we saw the Kings dominate play at home.
Yeah. So Money, are you backing our Kings tonight? Are you concerned at all? Let's give us a lay of the land here.
Yeah, so I did bet the Kings. Like them to minus 130. There's still a little bit of room left as well. I agree with Rob, and we talked about this yesterday, that you have to break that game into two games and then kind of determine which game is more sustainable long term, right? So the way that the Kings played in the first half of that game, they were just playing their game. That's the way that we expected the Kings to play this series. So there's nothing that would make me think that that's not sustainable. We're asking the Kings just to do what the Kings have done all season and play their game. Yep. What happened in the second half of that game, that to me is not quite sustainable, because you're not going to see McDavid just with that wide open space, just doing whatever he wants, right? You're not going to see Darcy Kemper giving up those weak goals. Maybe you will, but I think that there's a higher probability that Kemper does not give up 5 goals going forward in this series, right? And then and the other thing too is that what I always say is that you can talk about we need to make these changes, but do you have the horses to do it? Well, what I'm asking the Kings to do is take space away from the star players of the Oilers, and that's not asking too much. The Kings do have the horses to be able to take that space away. So I agree with Rob in the sense that we need to take a step back. We talked about this yesterday. They were up 4-0 in that game. The Oilers scored a goal with 4 seconds left. Yeah. If those 4 seconds run out and we go into the third period with this game 4-0, I don't know how different that game goes, right? So it's just what is more sustainable, and I think that the Kings continuing to play the way that they played for 82 games is more sustainable than what we saw in the last 10 minutes of that game. And the hope of the sweep is still alive too. So that's the important thing here as well.
Yes. Yeah. I gotta say, on the Kemper subject matter, I do think Kemper, I don't have his playoff stats up in front of me, but I think if you were looking at his playoff career, his numbers are pretty bad. I remember a stint with Colorado where I bet him a few times and he just completely shit the bed there. I don't think he has a ton of playoff experience overall, but I am mildly, even though he had a great regular season, I am mildly concerned about that. I do think that there is such thing in pro sports of being, of crumbling under the pressure of what the playoffs bring. And Kemper, to me, just seemed very unsettled as that game was going on. Almost like you could feel that the Oilers were going to tie it. The McDavid goal down the wing there, it's pretty weak. It's slid along the ice, under. Yeah. I don't really, you got to make those saves. So that's my biggest concern with LA right now. It's not the team. I think that, I like the depth for LA. I really do. Kemper, he does concern me, but then I look at the other side of the ice and I see Skinner, and it's well, I think, I'll take a bad Kemper. I think that's probably still even an advantage personally.
Yeah, it's clearly going to it's clearly going to take a lot for me to come down hard on a goalie, right? So, but
Right.
Yeah. I will say on Kemper, he had an incredible year, and you kind of want to just have to just have some blind faith that he will be able to do that. There's something to be said about like going up against McDavid and Draisaitl. I feel like once those guys get going, you're kind of like, any goalie is just kind of like, okay, like, Jesus, here we go. And we saw Bobrovsky, who has been unbelievable in the playoffs, have some games where he looked like just completely overmatched in net. That's just what McDavid and Draisaitl can do to a guy. But like, yeah, Kemper, when he won the cup with the Avs, -7 goal saved above expected in that playoff run. I just pulled it up now. So not exactly part of the reason why they won the cup, I would say. But didn't need to do much with that Avs team being as good as they were that year. So obviously, one, maybe you could say, not in spite of him, but like he definitely wasn't a big contributing factor. He just did enough to not kill them, basically.
Yeah, I remember having. I think they played Vegas that year, and I had Colorado in a series, and I'm just watching those games, and Kemper is like just letting in the most dog shit goals. I vividly remember. This is what betting does to you. You know, you have a big bet, you vividly remember a bunch of stuff going on, but he was just not good in that playoff run. I always felt he was the liability for them. It's mildly concerning after game one, just to kind of see the crumbling in the third period and down the stretch there. But yeah, overall, I'm again, it's a 1 game sample. I liked what I saw from the Kings for the vast majority of the game. And I'm going to just, you know, there's nothing that I saw in game one that is going to make me flip my mind on what the series is going to be. I'd need to see like the Oilers play a game where they can actually take it to the Kings and dominate and not have a bunch of defensive lapses, which I think are going to be a huge issue for them.
Yeah. I don't have anything really to add. I talked about this a lot yesterday. I'm still very high on this Kings team. Obviously, like there's the potential for McDavid and Draisaitl to just go nuclear for one round and just like, you know, overextend themselves, do what they have to do until they get reinforcements back. That's always a possibility. They're two of the best players in the world, but like overall, I think the Kings are very well equipped to win the non-McDavid and Draisaitl minutes and win them, you know, handsomely. I don't think Kemper will get shelled like he did yesterday or a couple nights ago. I still am very confident in this Kings team long-term here. And I do think that this is a big one though, like, because you don't want to start giving the others life. You really want to step on their throats here. So yeah, I mean, I agree with the play. I like the play, but like I'm not betting it myself because I'm already probably say a little overextended on the Kings right now. So I'm just gonna let it ride here. And
that's a challenge with playoffs too. Like risk management in the playoffs is challenging, right? When you already have Kings series and you have like Kings alternate series and stuff like that, do you want to keep loading up on a game by game basis? It's tough. I rarely look at the expected goals charts nowadays in real time because my model just updates it like it's automated. I'm just looking at the first game now. Kevin Fiala had 2.32 individual expected goals in that game. That was more than the entire Oilers team. Yeah. Kevin Fiala himself generated more XG than the entire Oilers.
I talked about that before game one when we were on the show, and I talked about that on our playoff preview. I love that line on what they're going to be able to do because they're going to want Danault out there, and they're going to want Kopitar out there against McDavid and Draisaitl. Those are going to be the tough assignments for those guys. That's going to free up the Byfield, Fiala, Laferriere line to really, really create offensively. I had a lot of like player prop stuff from that series stuff. Obviously Byfield started nicely, and Fiala as well. Some nice SGPs with Byfield, Laferriere, and Fiala that did not get home because Laferriere could not get a point on Kings goals.
He burned me so many times this year, man. Laferriere. I like him as a player, but he finds himself in good positions a lot of times, but sometimes very frustrating. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to the anytime goal parlay in a sec. So keep sending your stuff in here. As right on cue, Ron says Fiala, which is pretty
I'm down,
fair.
Man. He had 13 Corsi attempts in the first game. Like guys going to shoot from everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And as usual, Rob takes the wind out of my sails here. I was so excited to talk about Fiala as like like I looked into it and
the rug out from under you.
I almost thought it was an error. I was like, I had to check a second site to make sure that it was correct when I was pulling this up. That's absurd.
I think that's the third time Rob has done that to me this year. And he's on one
I'm going to hold off on your thoughts on this because we'll be on tomorrow, but Rob will not. So I'm going to put him on the spot quickly here. Claudio posts this. This is from FanDuel. Leafs Sens game 3 lines posted just recently on FanDuel. Minus 110 to either side. Very, very preliminary thoughts. I'm sure you haven't run numbers or anything like that yet, but you're just very initial thoughts on that.
I don't want the Leafs in game 3 at minus 110 on the road. That's my first thought. I do think the series is by all means not over yet. I do think the venue shift will change things. Historically speaking, there is a bump to home ice when you return home down 2-0 as well. That's probably factored into the price here as well. It'll be a tough one. Not the price that I was necessarily looking for. Maybe if you have a plus in front of Toronto, I'd be a little bit more interested. But I think there's nothing that I've found super encouraging about the Leafs through 2 games where I feel like this series is mispriced at all. I think when you're looking, you start to get a larger sample, you want to find maybe some results that didn't necessarily match the actual performance on the ice. If anything, I could probably make the argument that maybe Ottawa would be a little bit undervalued after playing what I thought was a really strong game 2 for them. So I'm not betting Ottawa. I'd rather fucking drink my own piss than do that. But I won't be laying the Leafs either.
Fair enough. Zach in the chat would be a factor if it was actually home ice in Ottawa. These clowns can't even show up to their own home games. All right. Let's get to the anytime goal parlay here. We already have Fiala in there. Before we do, 2 best bets for tonight. We did not track the Kings one yet. We will get that tracked, so that will be in BetStamp soon. But Habs, Caps, over 5.5, minus 120, with some room to run a little bit on that one. If you haven't got it yet, or you're watching this after the fact or joining late, there's minus 125s available that I think we'd all agree is okay. Kings minus 120, good to minus 130 from So Money there. A lot of Kings love and needs for us here. Anytime goal parlay, we will throw Fiala in. That will be the first one. So that'll be the one from the Kings Oilers game. Fiala, we had one very early on from John Smith. Let me just find it here. Let's scroll up to the chat.
He just posted it again as well.
Jamie posted it again. Okay, Jamie Benn.
Which is, I get this one too. So Jamie Benn, of all the players tonight, second in the playoffs right now in individual expected goals. The only problem I have with Ben is he's not getting a lot of ice time. Relatively speaking, I think he's had like a couple 14-minute games or 15-minute games. He's not on power play 1. I guess it's factored into the price because it's plus 390. I will say he has been noticeable for me when he's been on the ice. He has gotten some chances. I don't hate the look necessarily. I just prefer to target guys who are going to be on the ice a little bit more. Although, I mean, it's slim pickings tonight, so I don't really have a problem with Ben, honestly.
Okay. So Money, what do you think? Throw Ben in there?
I like Ben. I had Ben to score the overtime goal in game 2. So I'm usually when I pick those guys, they score the next game. So I like Ben as well there.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll not do the Nichushkin then. We'll hold off on that one for now because avoid ones in the same game. We need one from the Habs game then. We had 2 suggestions. I like the one from Rob. Obviously, I like Charles' suggestion to Suzuki as well. I'm always down for Suzuki, but Gallagher was around the net and on the puck. Like playoff Gallagher is a thing. He just loves these moments. He loves these occasions. He's always in and around the net. He's always on the puck. It will require it to be a greasy one, but he's on that second power play, jamming away in front too. A lot of opportunities for him. He had 8 shot attempts in that first game. He was very much around the puck.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Gallagher in the playoffs, I mean, he goes from a below average player to an average player. He steps up his performance in the playoffs, certainly. I'm with you, Moretto.
I like Caulfield in that game as well.
You like Caulfield too? Let me see the prices on these guys here. It's just trying to ignore Rob's comment overall here. Gallagher plus 380, Caulfield plus 200. Caulfield was, I mean, that line, I talked about it. I talked about the fact that I think the Habs had the best line in the series. That was the one thing they had going for them for sure here. And that line was on the puck like crazy every time they were on the ice, especially as the game wore on. They were wearing Washington down. The forecheck was going. They had a lot of chances, a lot of second chance opportunities, third chance opportunities with like Sapkowski whacking away in front of the net. They definitely controlled things when they were out there. So I don't mind Caulfield. I don't mind Suzuki. I'm good with Gallagher too. I don't know. I'll kind of defer to you guys here. Who you want to add?
Yeah. Chat was shitting on Line A earlier. He's 100% scoring tonight as well.
Yeah,
like
probably,
you know how it happens.
To put Line A in there out of principle. That guy makes me sick right now.
Yes, I honestly like Gallagher. The more I look into it, I do like Gallagher.
Mr. Gallagher,
really good shot rates. I could do Caulfield as well. I just get greedy sometimes with the prices of these.
It's just SGP like 4 Habs players and nice 5-2 Habs win tonight would be perfect.
I would take that. I mean, we got the over. I would take that.
Yeah.
I like
Montembeault anytime goals. Charles, if Montembeault scores tonight, you can name what you need me to do in the chat. I'll do just about anything.
No, we'll hire Charles. He'll be on Edge work next year.
Charles,
if you call your shot with a goalie scoring and he scores on that night, I think we can give you a job, Charles.
Yeah, that's fair. I do like Tim mentioned something in here about Tom Wilson anytime goal. I do, if you're playing any like cap stuff, I do like some Dubois, McMichael, Wilson, maybe like SGP stuff. I do think that line is pretty dangerous, and that line matches up well with the line, because the Habs are obviously going to focus their defensive efforts on the Ovechkin-Strome line, which kind of frees up the Dubois line for some easier minutes, although the Dubois line sometimes has to be out there against the Suzuki line too. But I do like some SGP stuff for that line, but we won't include any of them in the anytime goal parlay. We'll do Gallagher, we will do Fiala, and we will do Jamie Benn. I think this is a nice one for us tonight. See what the payout is on that here. That is 67-1 for tonight's anytime goal parlay. Kevin Fiala, Jamie Benn, and Brendan Gallagher. Recap the best bets one more time. Habs, Caps, over 5.5, -120, and the Kings, -120. 2 best bets for tonight, as well as, again, for the second day in a row, I'll say this, but over 5.5 games in that Habs Cap series I like as well, and some live Avs series prices as well, if you can get like -185 or better, which is pretty widely available and available on show sponsor FanDuel. All right, that'll do it for us today. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, all that sort of stuff before you leave. It does help us out, helps us in the YouTube algorithm, all that sort of stuff. We need the bumps, any bump we can get here, so we do appreciate that. We'll be back tomorrow, myself and So Money, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, enjoy the games tonight and good luck on your bets.